On this computer.
Morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Gina. Glad that you were able to join me today. Hey, Mark Perkins and Gina Wallisa here with Perkins Insurance. You know, we're trying some things in these unprecedented times to really be a resource for our clients. And today I wanted to take some time out of our busy afternoon, spend just a few minutes with Gina talking about some of the changes and the effects that have happened to so many of our clients, but specifically focused in on the hospitality industry and restaurants. We know that without a doubt, across the country, that industry has been probably the most affected outside of healthcare, the most affected industry to date that we know of. And so we know over the last few days, Gina, that there's been a lot of information coming out from a lot of different sources, and some of it very accurate, some of it may be a little inaccurate in the information that we're getting. But we know here in Texas, specifically at least, that some changes were enacted just recently in the last few days that have been a huge benefit in this struggling time to the restaurant industry. And so speak a little bit about that, Gina, and what you've uncovered in the last couple of days with regards to some delivery maybe of alcohol and just some things that Governor Abbott has done here. And I know that the TRA has been working closely on to help ensure the viability of our restaurants through this time.
Definitely big changes this week. Good changes as well. Probably the most questions or inquiries I got from some of our restaurant clients and friends is the confusion on some of the news outlets that came out with alcohol delivery and really lacking details, I think, was the biggest thing. Not necessarily that it was incorrect, but maybe just lacking details. So lots of questions on what they can do, how much can they do, does the food to liquor ratio matter, just, you know, very specific things. And so I didn't have all those answers. I did some research on TABC's website, on Texas Restaurant Association's website, and the governor's website, and calling those offices. That was interesting, talking to the governor's office and the TABC folks. But I did get what I needed, and in short time turned around and gave that information to the restaurants. And I think the bottom line is, one, people didn't know the details of the law to begin with. The SB 1450 was an act that was passed in September of 2019 that basically allowed restaurants to serve alcohol with food purchase for delivery only. And it's very specific, no curbside, no takeout. And what they did was expand that to takeout and curbside now that restaurants were primarily functioning in that fashion. So it really did open up a source of revenue for the restaurants to help them during this time. And I know personally, bartenders were very happy to be the to-go people for a change. That's usually not their favorite role, but considering this was their only role at the time, and that they were able to sell alcohol with that, it helped with the total bill sales and then eventually their tips. So they're certainly not making what they're used to, but they were happy to be useful and gaining an income at this time.
So we know one of the things that has changed, obviously, has been the shutdown of in-dining facilities. And so it's either to go, curbside delivery, or curbside pickup or delivery of food. And so one of the things we wanted to talk about real specifically that relates back to an insurance standpoint for restaurants is the idea of delivery. And some of those employees, in order to stay employed, I know at least locally we've talked to several of our restaurants that those employees have offered, hey, let me deliver. If we want to do delivery, I'll be glad to be a delivery person at this point. And which is great, and that is fantastic, chipping in, trying to help their business, their employer survive. But how, from an insurance standpoint, is that affected by coverage, Gina?
That's a tricky question, very tough question. I've talked to a few carriers about this, about that specific issue. And the overall response is, if today or prior to this, they had non-owned and hired auto coverage, then the delivery would be included in their coverage already. If they didn't have that coverage because they were already delivering, then the insurance company took on the position they did not want to pick up that exposure. So they would not be covering that right now. So the key is, if you have non-owned and hired auto coverage right now, you had it before and you didn't necessarily deliver before, and now you are, you would be covered. It is a good time to go back to your agent and ask, do I have non-owned and hired auto coverage? Am I covered for delivery operations? And, put them to work and make them go get you that coverage. There is an option for that. It may not be with your current carrier, but there are solutions for that. You just, need to decide whether you want to pay for that additional insurance or self-insure that exposure at this time.
So one of the things that we often see in a period of disruption, that even though it's a hard time, one of the positives of that, which I think we're seeing, are innovative ways. The American ingenuity, the Texas independent spirit that we're seeing, and a lot of these business owners are finding ways to remain relevant in an economy that has changed literally overnight. And so looking at it from a positive position, that excites me, because I think one thing we're going to see is we're going to see new forms of businesses that, hey, this helped us through, and this may be something that carries on. I think from a service perspective in our industry, I think we were already well prepared via technology for us to deliver our services through maybe some new means, and we're doing that, and because we're having to do that. And so some of our restaurants are finding that to be true as well. What are you seeing with some of your restaurants you're talking to, Gina, and what they're doing that's not necessarily what they were doing before?
And that's a great question, and it is an exciting time. Restaurants are resilient business owners and operators, and chefs by nature are very creative. And I think they're the perfect person to be dealing with quick changes, chaotic circumstances, just, being behind the food line, having to deal with daily situations. I think they're the best prepared for this. And their creativity is showing and coming out from, I've seen advertisements for, dinner kits, like 2 steaks, Brussels sprouts, a loaf of bread, just a whole little dinner kit being sold by a high-end restaurant. I was surprised to see it come from a high-end restaurant. And it's just a package deal, $50, order it, come by and pick up curbside and take it home and make it. So being very creative in that sense, from sort of that to actually selling raw product, eggs, homemade bread, a loaf of bread, bacon, whatever they have, really being unique in how they're packaging it and selling it. And it's interesting to watch, because, I think of myself as somewhat a creative person, and I didn't even think of them doing that. And I'm like, wow, that's really, I'm just so pleasantly surprised by restaurant owners and operators on what they're doing. And gift cards is another thing, they're pushing to sell. If you can buy $40 of gift cards now, pay $30, so you're saving money, but you're also supporting them. And if you're a regular and you're going to go back, then you're going to be using those. And I think that's a smart way for them to get some revenue now and customers later. And even one
I
of the
agree.
owners, he told me, buy it in $25 increments. That way, if you give it away, that person's going to spend more than $25. So it was like a way to even bring further income. I'm like, God, I didn't think about that. Okay, great idea.
Yeah,
So,
great idea. Great idea. So as we wrap this up, we want to take just a few minutes to give you some of these information points, and I hope they've been really helpful. There'll be more to come, obviously. A couple things we wanted to offer as we close are some share points of what we're finding with regard to assistance out there. I'm going to try to share my screen here and see if this works. But I know that the website Cabbage has been a great resource, and has got a lot of great resources for small business support, federal support. It's got some specific support sites for the states that you may be in. You can see Texas here. And so as that continues to change, those things will continue to be added. Another one is the SBA disaster assistance response to the coronavirus. Let me try to get that a little bigger for you. So you can see that there are some changes or some opportunities there for businesses that need assistance. You can see sba.gov/disaster is the place for that information. So as we continue to get that information out from our various sources, we'll continue to share that, and we really appreciate that. Let me make sure that I've got this for you again. I'll go back to this screen and share. I don't know that that's shared, but this is Cabbage.
Yes, it's shared.
See that now? Okay.
Yep.
Did it share the first time?
No.
Okay, so sorry about that. So Cabbage, this is the website I was talking about, small business, federal support, state support. Obviously, you can see that information there, really helpful. Let me do a new share and get this one up there for you, the SBA that I was talking about there. When you share, you've got to actually hit the share button. So can you see that one too, Gina?
Yes.
Perfect. So there's that SBA.gov disaster we were talking about. So those are just a couple of resources that I know we've found. Anything else, Gina, you want to share that you've uncovered in the last few days?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of government financial assistant links. And what I'll do is I'll put those together. So if any of our customers or restaurant friends want that information, just send us an email or give us a call, and I'll kind of compile those and put it together, because that, along with TABC, there's, restaurant employees, they can apply on a link to get assistance right now. There's the Texas Restaurant Association that has a new relief fund that they're getting donations for, that's immediate for restaurants and specifically to keep them open and keep their employees working. So that's some immediate relief. And so there's TABC, and I know people maybe don't want to go and weed through all of that, and I'm happy to put the actual act on an email, because I have that already. If you need any of that information, please reach out to us. Happy to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina, so much for your time. Thank you for those of you that have tuned into this. Again, this is unprecedented times for all of us. We're trying to be a resource for you and your businesses and your families. If you have any questions, reach out through our website, perkins-ins.com, email info@perkins-ins.com. And of course, you can find our phone numbers on our website as well. We look forward to helping with you and for you, and we'll be back with more information as it becomes available. Thank you for joining us today.